Only a few years back, all of the best-selling cars were all these mid-size sedans. This is one of the most competitive segments of any cars out there because they're all so close.
And here we are driving Accords and Camrys because now you can say that a front-wheel drive sedan has more power and with the right tires could actually scare a real sports car.
You're watching Everyday Driver. We make a TV show, podcast,
and YouTube channels dedicated to great cars, driving adventures, and helping you find a car you'll love.
Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
The four signature cars that we have are the Camry, the Accord, the Mazda6, and the Hyundai Sonata.
We brought four of the many, many cars in this segment. We don't have a Legacy, we don't have an Altima. There are others in this space we didn't bring along.
I'm in the TRD Toyota Camry, and you might ask, why do we have the Performance Camry and not from the other cars? It's because none of those other car manufacturers make a racing division version of their sedan.
This TRD Camry will cost you $33,000. Now, that's only significant because it's the cheapest V6. What's interesting is it's almost the dead center of all of the Camry options. They have all-wheel drive versions, 4-cylinder versions, 6-cylinder versions. If you want a Camry, they make one probably just about like you'd like it.
I'm now in the 2020 Accord EXL. This mid-trim level is $31,200. You do get a lot for your money.
This Accord is about the middle of the pack, but unfortunately that means we wound up with the smaller engine. This is the 1.5-liter turbo. You really want the 2-liter turbo. It has nearly 300 horsepower and torque. This has about 190 of both. This is similarly matched with that Sonata, which actually has the higher grade engine in that car, so this gets confusing quick. These cars are almost exactly the same in size, and yet the Honda Accord seems the biggest. This is the one that just has a lot of presence and feels like a very substantial car.
This Mazda 6 is the signature edition. This is Mazda at their finest. All the tech, all the performance, and it's reflected in the price. It's almost $37,000.
Looked at one way, this Mazda 6 is by far the most expensive thing here, but compared to the others, when you consider that if you checked every box of those guys, they're $39,000 or $40,000. Love all the flowing lines and the chrome grille going toward the lights. All of the pieces Mazda's made signature design elements are present here on the Mazda 6. Of course they are, because Mazda actually refers to the 6 as their flagship car. They don't sell anything above the Mazda 6.
I'm now in the 8th generation Sonata. Can you believe it? It's been around that long. What makes this car so unique is that Hyundai is trying stuff, and you can see it, you can feel it when you drive it, and bringing a build quality that I have never felt.
This car is offering you everything you could want in a car of this class, but it's offering it to you thousands of dollars cheaper. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, heated and cooled seats. Everything you could want in modern luxury is in this car, and this one is just over $34,000.
Everyday Driver is brought to you by Hagerty. Let's drive together.
All of these cars are almost exactly the same size. It's almost as if the first one was created and every other manufacturer built it with tracing paper.
When you get in this car, you have to feel like home. You have to settle in. You just think, this is what I want to look at. This is how I want to feel when I'm driving my car. This is why people are brand loyal, but that's also out the window when you have so many great choices now.
Even though Toyota has positioned this as a sporty version of the Camry, what it really is less luxurious than the other V6 Camrys, and as a result, cheaper.
I like how it looks. And what's more is, other people like how it looks, and you're going to get looks in a Camry. The interior is the same. Piano plastic that gets a lot of fingerprints, and materials that are going to last a long time. And I like the seats in the Camry too.
The seats don't seem to go low enough anymore. I think this is the influence of the CUV, the fact that people apparently only want a high ride height. There is a good amount of room in the back. Ultimately, it is the same interior in here as you have on any Camry, just now with red accents.
This Accord, when it came out, I thought looked like it had put on a mask and was looking through the eye holes, and there really wasn't anything else significant about the car. This is more of like a 5-door hatch kind of a look, even though it does have a trunk and it's a sedan. You kind of look around, you think, all right, it's just gray and the styling looks gray, and I feel gray about the car.
Everything in this car is simple, easy to use, and in a place that makes sense. You just intuit where it should be, and there it is. In spite of them all being approximately the same size, this one feels the most spacious in here, and it has the most legroom by a couple of inches. This has by far the best seating position. You can get it down and lower. I can get more comfortable in here than any of the other cars. Of course, Apple CarPlay and a big, easy, readable screen. All the lane departure and cruise control options you could want in a modern car, it's all in here, and it's so easy to use.
How many cars look this good? You could buy this car for looks alone, and I would say, congratulations, you made the right choice. The fender arches, the polished aluminum piece that wraps around the grille and then goes right under the headlights.
In spite of the price of this car, this interior still feels more upscale than the price suggests. Pretty tight on legroom in the back comparatively, but it is the nicest place to sit.
It's ultra suede on the instrument panel, and it's Japanese senwood over here as accents all the way around, and it's the stitching and it's the seating position. If you want luxury, Mazda is giving you the best balance, the most luxury, and the most elegant feeling for the lowest price. There, I said it.
I find the styling on the Sonata to be so close to a full victory. I like it from every angle but the straight front, where it has a little bit of a frowny face Eeyore look that just makes it look kind of sad.
But I love that Hyundai is trying stuff. Look at the body sides of the car. They're just swollen out, so it really accentuates the fenders. Let's talk about the dynamic lasso. It is the use of the LED signature lighting to create a different look at different times of day. When the lights are off, the car looks one way. When the lights are on, maybe at dusk, maybe at night, it looks completely different.
This is my favorite looking interior. I love the two-tone. It makes this cabin very open and airy and inviting.
It's very tech-like in here. Hyundai is focusing very much on tech. The camera's under the rearview mirrors. The instrument panel turns into a camera on each side. Little touches, little unexpected things. The interior is the place I want to be, except for one thing. The seating position is too high.
It should have 2 or 3 more inches of travel down. That is a big strike against this car because you want to be comfortable if you're going to buy a car you're going to commute in every day.
Everyday Driver is brought to you by Griot's Garage. Get at least 10% off with the code EVERYDAY.
Get this, there are 12 flavors of the Camry lineup, and you can get one to almost $40,000. The TRD Camry is the base car with the V6, and it is 300 horsepower, 301, and a great amount of torque that's matched to a transmission that takes advantage of it.
This Camry is fast. This V6 will do 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. However, that speed is not unique to the TRD version. This is the same engine and 8-speed automatic as you get in any V6 Camry. They all do 5.8 seconds. I'm still in eco mode. We can't have that. Sporty goodness mode. The main thing Sport mode does in this is change your throttle response and your shift points. It still, though, will shift for you if you get it high enough.
Listen, I just want to do that in a Camry.
In this mid-grade spec with the 1.5-liter turbo, this is the cheapest car we have here in as-tested price. This is just over 30 grand.
You can also spec out Accords to be almost $40,000. You could upgrade to the 2-liter turbo and you'll get a 10-speed automatic transmission. And by the way, the Accord is still the only front-wheel drive sedan available of these 4 that's available with a manual transmission. Points for that, Honda. Points for that.
This setup is definitely the enough setup of car buying. You don't have power that's going to impress you. You don't have a transmission that really listens to you at all. You are asking it for power, it's taking it under advisement, but you're not going to make any sudden maneuvers in traffic with this 1.5 liter. 1.5 liter turbo, isn't that tiny? That's like the amount of water I drink before lunch.
Oh! This engine makes the most torque of any of these engines. It's a 2.5 liter Skyactiv Turbo 4, but down low it feels like the 6-speed is not the right transmission to match up with this car.
This doesn't have snappy shifts with the paddles, but it's the nicest transmission to work with. Now, Mazda used to offer a manual transmission on the base models. They've stopped offering that and only do this 6-speed automatic now. The interesting thing about the power delivery in this car is this is the only one with a 6-speed automatic. And honestly, you start to think, why did we go beyond 6 gears? The others may have 2 more than this, or in the case of the Accord, no real gears at all. But 6 feels right. It genuinely gives you something to actually work with.
Oh, you're gonna wanna get me off the line, aren't you? See? Ooh, oh yeah, see, it did it. It broke loose a little bit. There's just a little bit of naughty down deep in the Mazda6, just a tiny little bit, waiting to get out. You have to punch it hard to find it, but that encourages me a lot. There's multiple things in the Sonata. Yeah, the engine is just eager.
This has 180 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque, pretty similar to the output of that Honda 1.5. You put it in sport mode, and it's just kind of jerky in all of its inputs. It doesn't give you any to surprise you, but it does have kind of an eager and aggressive output.
Okay. 1.6 liter turbo, it's got the torque. Yeah, this car moves when you want it to.
In spite of that, the 0 to 60 here is slow. 8 seconds puts it just over 2 seconds behind the Camry, and honestly, it's almost a full second behind that low-power Accord. It's not going to wow you because, frankly, the engine's not big enough.
Now with the TRD package, you get more than just 19-inch wheels and bigger brake rotors and the nice tuned exhaust out back.
It's stiffer springs, bigger roll bars, and actually these sticky Michelin tires.
They have made this car tighter than it deserves to be. I'll be honest, it really hurts over some bumps, but it's still very compliant over the potholes. I'm okay.
In spite of being the sportiest, this Camry is also the heaviest of all the cars we brought at 3,600 pounds.
It doesn't feel like 3,600 pounds. It's so light on its feet, far more than any of the other cars. And despite the steering not being the most communicative, that's okay.
I understand the reasons for the suspension changes on this car, but it takes this car and makes it less usable for the things the Camry's always been good at.
I don't think Accords will ever be positioned as a fun-to-drive car. It's practical, it's full of tech, it's reliable, it's fuel efficient.
This generation of the Accord, and frankly all the ones I've ever driven, just feel easy. They make the normal commute stuff of driving just simpler. In spite of feeling the most substantial, in spite of having the most room, this is one of the lightest cars here at 3,300 pounds.
The ride quality in the Accord is perfectly great. It's smooth, it's comfortable. It really matches most people's driving. This is why the Accord sells, and this is why you should buy one.
One of the other big surprises here is that the Honda has the fastest steering rack. In fact, the initial turn-in is by far the most aggressive of any of these cars, and I'm including that TRD Camry. Now, because it darted in so much, it does reveal that it's front-wheel drive if you give it any power while you're trying to steer.
At this point, the Accord has gotten so good, they have engineered and designed all of the character right out of the car.
I find it very telling that this is Mazda's flagship sedan because you get that sense when you drive it. It isn't sporty, it isn't going to dart for the corner, but it also is achieving what it set out to do, which is just feel luxurious.
This G-vectoring torque control that Mazda now puts on almost everything, it just lets off on the torque a little bit as you start to turn into a corner. It's almost like a racing technique where it starts to put more weight on those front tires to help you turn in better. That seems more like a fun to drive. We wanted to add a little bit of spice back in. Well, if you're going to do that, do more, Mazda.
This Sonata benefits from being the lightest and least expensive car here.
The entire car is structurally more rigid, and I could feel it. As soon as I jumped in this car, it felt tighter, it felt crisper. This feels like the base, the bones, are going to translate into a better performance model. So it tells me that there's something coming. I hope there is.
I feel like in its effort to be eager, it's gotten a tiny bit jerky in both acceleration and in braking.
Everyday Driver is brought to you by Covercraft. Use the code EVERYDAY for 10% off your order.
There's great things about all four of these cars. You could spec them out to your personal preferences and you could probably completely change our mind. They really are so on top of each other. You have to drive them all in the spec you want to figure out which one is right for you.
If you're wondering, why wouldn't you just get a rear-wheel drive sports sedan? You're either going to have to get a Dodge Charger that weighs 4,000 pounds, or you're going to have to pay a lot more money. When you break free, you finally break out of the city like this, the TRD is the one you want. I've never appreciated the Camry because it didn't have this character, and it didn't have this aggressiveness.
For the way most people are going to use a Camry in their daily life, I find myself asking why? Why would you do the TRD? This TRD Camry feels like you wanted your party to be exciting, and so you took a risk and you went and got the medium Salsa. There's not really a whole lot of sports sedan going on here, but it feels like a more aggressive Camry.
I'm shocked at how much I like the Camry, and of the four cars, this is the one I want because it's got the most sporting flavor. And you would make the argument, well, of course you do. But what keeps coming back is the price.
Toyota's offering yet another variant of their most popular sedan that is already a do-it-all. But if you really want a sports sedan, you should get a rear-wheel drive sports sedan. And if you really want a Camry, you want it to ride better than this.
Maybe the beauty of the Accord is that it is so compelling at this price and so easy to drive and easy to live with. It just goes and runs and fits into your life.
Honda's done an amazing job of offering you a lot for your money, the most amount of space and the most amount of usability in this market segment. It hasn't created something, at least in this spec, that is very engaging or interesting to drive. I don't want to go drive it, but when I have to drive, I'm glad to be here.
It's useful, it's practical, but it's never going to stir me. It's been engineered and designed to be perfectly bland.
The Accord feels right. It feels like money well spent. You went out with a specific budget and you got an excellent car. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel like a standout.
Mazda's done a brilliant job. The 6 is far and above what it should be. I don't know that you're going to find a better ride, a more luxury car feeling, and then you'll remember, oh yeah, I didn't pay 60 grand. I paid 37 or less. That's significant.
It might be the most expensive of the cars here, but this still feels like more money than you spent. And when you spec the other ones out to have as many things as this does, they're going to be 38 grand or more.
So for me, this is third by just a little bit. It shouldn't be third. It's better than that. But for me, for this comparison, it's third.
This Mazda 6 is a standout. I love the 6-speed transmission that actually listens. It has enough power, and this is an interior that is far more luxurious than the price suggests.
I do like being here. I do like discovering what Hyundai's thinking is. I'm all about the tech. I'm all about the future. What Hyundai is doing is absolutely brilliant. I love what they're doing.
The Sonata has nailed value for money in this segment. I can't believe that this car feels this nice and is thousands of dollars less than the equivalent of the other three. Driven in isolation, the Sonata is a complete victory. It's just here with all of the options available, it's kind of mid-pack.
This feels far more spry and nimble than the others, with the exception of the TRD. And for me, this is second place just by a little bit.
You can drive the Sonata and wonder how you got a car this nice for only this much money. But here, with all of these options available, it's no longer a standout. But it is the best value.